So, hey guys, today I have learned some rulings, and I think that giga stupid, but make no goddamn sense. So, I mean, we'll go through the first one, and of course I learned these through the Duel Proficiency test thing, which I mean, these are some niche rulings, so you'll probably like never see them come up in an actual duel for the most part. Like, it feels like a once in a lifetime kind of event, really. But first thing, first thing first, we have Dark Nurse, so essentially just Nurse Baron, right? So we have Dark Nurse, Reficule, and then we have this card here. It's gift card. Your opponent gains 3,000 life points. If you would use the effect of Reficule here. Doesn't really matter if you have like a Simochi as well, like, or no. Bad reaction to Simochi. If you have this as well, and your opponent controls Prime Energy Dragon, or whatever it's called, or Prime Dragon, whatever. What was this called? Prime Material Dragon. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so this card says any effect that would inflict damage to a player increases their life points by the same amount instead. Does not start a chain. And then we have Dark Lord Norse Reficule and Bad Reaction to Simochi with essentially the same effect. Any effect that would increase your opponent's life points, it will inflict damage instead. So if we activate Gift Card, then all that happens is gain 3,000 life points, apparently. Well, in my head, I'm just completely lost. So you could think of it one way, like Rifical turns this into damage, and then this turns it to life, and then this turns it into damage. But at the same time, I think the amount never increases, so like just to stop a loop, I guess, this would just always be gain life instead. So I guess if we're against burn for some reason and we somehow can summon Prime Zero the Dragon, it's not like the worst thing in the world. But honestly, this one I'm okay with. You know, it's like I don't really get this, but you know, when it comes up, I guess. And then there's also like the battle damage version of this question, where I just have no freaking clue. So let's say we have a guy that reflects battle damage. So let's say we have Makanko cards. So let's say we have 2 copies of Hare the Sword Makanko. Well, actually, that's not great because you take no battle damage from battles involving this card, so it's better if we don't use Hare. So, is there something else that has a similar effect to this? Like, if you would take battle damage, your opponent takes it instead. The wording for that would be much more concrete. Actually, now that I think about it, if we have like 2 5,000 attack Hares attacking or into each other or whatever, something like that. Just essentially a high attack point Hare. Neither player would take damage because you take no damage from battles involving this card, so that doesn't quite work. But if we essentially have 2 monsters that reflect battle damage, well, I guess this does it not. Yeah, I don't remember how this ruling works actually, but I remember there was a very specific card. So if we look for this, I think it was either embodiment of crime or embodiment of punishment. One of these guys has this effect, right? Your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from attacks on this card. So if Hare equipped with an equips card attacks, then your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving this card. But Crime says that your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from attacks on this card. If we have essentially like 2 monsters with this effect, is what I'm wondering here. If they both have this effect, which one takes priority? I'm going to just assume, in this case, it's going to be the one getting attacked into, like just straight up, so that's probably how that works. If I were to guess, alright. Still not the worst ruling I have to talk about today. So, this is like an actual, just completely dumb ruling as far as I'm concerned. So we have Solemn Judgment, and then we'll have just let's assume we are playing Dynamorphia here. So we're halving our life points, halving, and eventually we are at 1 life point after activating a lot of our Dynamorphia traps. So now in this case, if our opponent is trying to activate a spell, like maybe like 20 turns later, for some reason the Dynamorphia player here cannot end the game, and now all of a sudden our opponent finally has like some counterplay. Maybe they have like I don't know, like a Raigeki or a Duster or something. You gotta negate this with Solemn Judgment, but you have 1 life point. How does this work? If we have 1 life point, can we activate Solemn Judgment? You have to pay half your life point, so half of 1 is 0.5. Are we allowed 0.5 life points? Is that legal? Well, no. If we look at how like the Dynamorphia cards resolve, we end up with like really dumb numbers. Like I don't know, just for example, 873. That could be like an amount of life points you can have with Dynamorphia, because the number rounds when we halve with these traps enough times. But we can get some funky cursed numbers, like 271, for example, is a number we could potentially see. Just a number like that, and you know, most monsters, their attack points are all for the most part. I guess there is like a few cards that have like 10 attack points, which is like really weird, like 2010 attack points, for example. But for the most part, most monsters will have what's the word? A multiple of 100. So all of our attack points should be divisible by 100 as well, for the most part. So we usually should end with a like x00 life points at least, right? So for example, 700, 800, 900, and rarely you could end up with like x0, so that'd be like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Usually the first digit of your life points is not really going to be, well, a number aside from 0, just for the most part, right? But when we activate Solemn Judgment here against Raigeki, we can, and your life points just do not change. Solemn Judgment just counts as being able to be paid, I guess. So this means that your opponent here playing Dynamorphia can skill drain you with, well, this is actually arguably worse than skill drain, but they can hit you with the skill drain essentially and halve their life points, and they can just keep doing that, and it's not even a real cost because it's always possible to pay for this, which is just stupid in my opinion. The only way that you can prevent Solemn Judgment from being activatable, I guess, aside from like a floodgate kind of negator, something like that, or another counter trap, like we're talking like Jinzo, Solemn Judgment, chained after Solemn Judgment. Well, that wouldn't prevent the activation, I guess. Neither of those. But you would need something probably like this. So Masquerade, the Blazing Dragon. So this requires your opponent to pay 600 life points to activate cards or effects, and they have less than 600, so they can't activate Solemn Judgment. You're essentially giving this a different cost to activate. That this is about the only way we can stop Solemn Judgment from being activated, I guess. So yeah, just the amount of brain rot and pain this gives me, because you know, do you know how many times you would have to halve your life points to actually get to 1 life point? Like, come on. Why is Solemn Judgment still activatable? Why does this card have actually no cost? This is the dumbest thing I have ever heard of, just like it's in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I've heard some like, well, I've seen some and I've heard of some pretty dumb rulings, like XYZ materials are treated completely different. They are XYZ materials. They are not monsters. They are not spells. They are not traps. They are XYZ material. So if we, instead of saying like, if we have a card that instead of saying like all cards sent to the graveyard would be banished instead, because XYZ material, at least, I don't know, they're still considered cards, I suppose, and not XYZ materials. However that works. Are cards XYZ materials? I don't know. I guess they have to be, because tokens you can't have attached to XYZ materials, or have them attached as XYZ materials. But I vaguely remember at some point, I think someone used like an XYZ armor card, the Lancer, to equip like my Nibiru token that I was given, and they were able to attach that as material or something. But I mean, that could have been a bug, honestly, because can you technically do that? I mean, genuinely, don't know, but okay. Uh, if we were to just, I guess, detach, it'll be banished though, is what I'm saying, under like a macro effect, right? But if we had instead, for example, Messiah, which has the effect to banish spell traps that are sent to the graveyard, and then we also had the Dimensional Fissure, XYZ materials would not be banned or banished. Like, why? What is this? What is this ruling? And it's honestly not that important 99% of the time. But I mean, it came up today, sometimes comes up for me. So I activate Dimensional Fissure. My opponent is playing Pearly, and they're doing the Ghostrick line. So, you know, we go into Alucard. We rank up into Angel of Mischief to grab shot. So if I had macro, Alucard would be banished and there would be nothing to summon off of shot. But you know, because ruling, this is sent to the graveyard because it's an XYZ material, not a monster, obviously. But why would Ghostrick Alucard be a monster, right? It's not like you inactivate Monster Reborn on it or anything, right? Haha, surely. So, yeah. I actually hate this ruling. But I think it is like a little interesting that if we look at like Rhongomyniad says it's not affected by card effects, but if we use XYZ Encore, Encore affects the material instead of Rongo, so it can still detach the materials and resolve. I think that's cool, I guess, right? But for the most part, a lot of rulings are just pain. And in general, I would say, yeah, pain and suffering. Might as well throw in another one here. Well, while we're here, we're just going to throw in a card effect I just don't understand why it works like this. Like why would you do this? Gigantic Spright has this lovely effect that says neither player can special summon for the rest of this turn except for level, rank, linked to monsters. They just randomly decided. Wouldn't it be cool if you just couldn't resolve Nib against like Spright because I feel like it, you know? Why not? And that's annoying. Honestly, just being able to make Zeus without using a single effect, not even that mad about that. You know, you need some things for your deck, you know? But come on, man. I don't even have the chance to activate Nibiru. Like, bruh. That's actually just the worst. And yeah, there are quite a few other dumb rulings just out there, but these were the few that kind of came to mind here. And I just, in general, yeah, I hate these rulings. The one I hate the most, of course, Solemn Judgment. You can activate this on one life point. What the hell is the cost anyways, am I right, guys? This is like saying, I don't know. Dark Grepher? Huh. Yeah, do I have like half a card or 0.1 of a card? No card? Sure, I'll just discard no card to activate the effect. Yeah, you know, because I'm paying the cost by discarding my 0 card, you know? My air card, if you will, to activate Dark Grepher's effect to send. So, yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.